This is Pass the Rock. Welcome back to episode 3 of Pass the Rock. You're now going to hear part 2, the Super Bowl pregame show.
I told y'all doubted me, and I came, and I didn't just come, and I didn't just come, and I didn't just come, and I didn't just come.
Welcome back to Pass the Rock. A little bit of Michael Irvin fun there. Thanks to Caesar for discovering that wonderful clip that's going to live in my brain forever.
He didn't just come.
I told y'all doubted me, and I came, and I didn't just come, and I didn't just come, and I didn't just come, and I didn't just come.
Yeah. All right. So now it's time to pass the rock over to Caesar, and let's get some pre-game warm-up here for the Super Bowl. Let's get ready.
Let's get ready, gentlemen. All right. This is going to be our Super Bowl segment. And really, when I was formulating how to do this, I wanted to give us just the go-ahead and the rundown. We already know that every outlet imaginable is going to give us the Andy Bowl, the Jason Kelce Bowl. So what can we do? Right? Well, let's just take it back to basics, guys. Let's do a good old-fashioned tail of the tape for both teams. And that's what we're going to do for this little exercise, this little segment. And let's go ahead and get started with the AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. Now, gentlemen, as I was doing this list, I was getting all this information. It was really shocking to find out how good this Kansas City Chiefs is on paper statistically, right? Granted, or given how you'd look at that roster and you'd think, well, there's only a few players here that you would consider elite level talents. And everybody else is just kind of like just a guy or good, but not great. Especially on that offensive side of the ball. Now, we'll go into the rosters here in a little bit. But, guys, I'm about to read off some of these stats for you guys for the Kansas City Chiefs, both offense and defense. Now, like I said, tail of the tape, we got to look at what they did in the regular season. 14-3 regular season record. They were first in the NFL in passing offense with 5,250 yards. They were the third best team in pass protection, allowing only 26 sacks on the year. In terms of rushing the ball, they were right around the average, a little bit middle of the road. They were 20th in the league, but when you have Patrick Mahomes, there's really not a need to run the ball. They got a 1,970 yards. But here's the thing. When you have Patrick Mahomes, you spread the field, you open things up, and you allow your runners to get 4.7 yards a carry on average. They led the league in the NFL, with 61 touchdowns scored this year. First in total yards, averaging 413 yards a game. And with that many touchdowns scored, it goes without saying they were the first in the NFL. They were first in the league in scoring with 29 points per game this season. All of this amounts to the number one ranking in offensive DVOA, as measured by Football Outsiders. Now, despite the elite production by this team on offense, they did have a pretty bad turnover differential with -3. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that kind of seems like a team that I expect to put up these kind of numbers when you have Andy Reid, you have Patrick Mahomes, you have Travis Kelce, and then you just build around those three guys. Now, on the defense, this was a different story, man. This is not a team, I've never considered Kansas City under Andy Reid to be an elite defense outside of a handful of years. But recently, definitely not. This is definitely a pretty average to above average defense. What we got here, the 11th ranked total defense in yards, 19th in pass defense, 8th in run defense, but they are literally the most middle of the pack team when it comes to allowing the opposing teams to score, with 21.8 points per game allowed in the regular season. However, all that said, they're second in the league in getting after the quarterback with 55 sacks notched. All this, though, amounts to 17th in the league in defensive DVOA. You put it all together, and what do you got? Guys, you got the 4th ranked DVOA team in the NFL. Now, I want us to give a quick look back into their playoff run to this point. In the divisional round, they beat the Jags 27-20, beat the Bengals 23-20. So 2 consecutive games allowing just 20 points. So a little bit better than the regular season average. However, they did not put up too many points against either the Jags or the Bengals. It's the playoffs, though. What can you expect? Teams ratchet things up. They throw everything they can at you, right?
They've also had hurt Mahomes for both of those games.
True. Patrick Mahomes was on a bum ankle for a game and a half, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember when he hurt his leg against the Jags. But I want to say it was in the second half of that game.
It wasn't especially early. I know that.
Yeah.
But I can't give you the exact.
Yeah, I don't know when Chad Henne came in, but whenever Chad Henne came into the game, that's around this, that they were looking at his ankle, and he somehow managed to tough that out and still put up some decent numbers. So the offense has put up a average of 25 points in the 2 games.
Don't think it was during the first quarter.
Oh, it was around the first quarter? So, yeah. So, essentially, a full 2 games with a high ankle sprain. But despite that, they put up 359 total yards a game on average, 266 in the air, 93.
He's so dumb.
What happened?
Said he's so dumb. He's like a cheat code.
I know, man. It's insane. It doesn't, especially that Cincinnati Bengals game, he is just ripping some throws on one leg, man. It's not fair, especially that one pass that he had to, who was it? Marquez Valdes-Scantling? Where he's just hobbling over to his left, rips it across to the middle of the field, and he's just right there. The defender dripped all over the guy, and he still gets it in there. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, the biggest cheat code in NFL history, it feels like. The offense, however, despite his injuries, hasn't put up too many yards per game. They are a little bit under their regular season average, where they were putting about 413 yards a game. They're at 359 in the playoffs. Now their defense, steady as she goes, man. Steady as she goes. They're not too dissimilar from what they've been doing in the regular season. They allowed 20 points per game in both games. They've allowed 329 yards on average in those 2 games, 221 in the air, 107 on the ground, right around regular season average. So, from what I could tell from this team, it is heavy on offense, and then the defense, all they have to do is just not screw it up. That is the formula for the Kansas City Chiefs going into this game. It's been the formula for them all season long. Anything that caught you guys off guard or anything on that one?
No,
or is it all pretty
really.
much?
I mean, they've pretty much been the chalk this whole year, right? I mean,
yeah, they have some of the weirdest. Yeah, I was gonna say they have some of the weirdest losses in the league. They have a loss to the Indianapolis Colts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the one weird loss. But they also have a weird game where they got pushed to the limit by the Houston Texans going into overtime.
I think that just reminds me of the Shaq Kobe Lakers, who were just kind of effing around till it's time to kick it in gear.
Yeah. Now that Indianapolis Colts loss was early in the year, so we didn't really know that the Colts were a complete dumpster fire just yet. But
they weren't good.
Yeah, no, still weren't good, but they weren't the absolute catastrophe that they turned out to be. Now the other 2 losses, I know I said they were weird, they're not weird. It was one against Buffalo at home, and then against Cincinnati at Cincinnati. So those were 2 respectable losses against 2 powerhouses. But yeah, they did have that weird game where the Tennessee Titans pushed them into overtime with Malik Willis. I think he completed 5 passes in that game? Mm-hmm. Something crazy like that?
The Titans are such a weird team.
5 of 16 was Malik Willis. You could say, well, yeah, they just ran the ball with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry only had 17 touches in that game. So I don't know. That is a weird game. And then again, Houston pushed them 30-24 into overtime, in a losing effort, but still getting pushed by what was and is the worst team in the NFL. Not something exactly to feel good about. But they finished the season off strong, regardless. Now
Mahomes threw for 446 yards against the Titans and got 1 touchdown.
Yeah, it's a weird team, man. It's also the second time this season that he led the team in rushing. He had 63 yards in that game.
Yeah,
and
a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, and against the Colts, he also led the team in rushing with 26. 26 whole yards on that one. Now, let's go ahead and look at their opponent in this game. I would never have thought coming into this season that the Philadelphia Eagles would be a juggernaut on both sides of the... Thank you for that one. I would not have anticipated this team to be the juggernaut that they were this season on both sides of the ball. Philadelphia Eagles, 14-3 regular season record. They finished on offense 9th in the league in passing with 41.05, 20th in the league in sacks allowed with 44. A lot of that comes from Jalen Hurts. Does hold on to the ball a lot, and less to do with the quality of the offensive line. I think all of us are here in agreement can say that the Philadelphia Eagles have the best offensive line. If not, they are top 3, top 2.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't complain with them.
Yeah, exactly. You have the best center in football, and you have the best tackle in football in Lane Johnson. People can fight me on that last statement if they want to. And then you have really good guard play from Isaac Seumalo, Landon Dickerson, and then you have Jordan Mailata being a solid left tackle. But yeah, with all that said, those guys open up a lot of running room and let the team that be 5th in the league in rushing with 2,500 yards and a 4.6 average. Now, like I said, this team's a juggernaut. They had 59 total touchdowns, 2 behind the league-leading Kansas City Chiefs. All this amounting to what? Being 3rd in the league in total yards, averaging 389 yards per game, and 3rd in the league in scoring with 28 points per game. All this amounts to 3rd in the league in offensive DVOA, again, according to FootballOutsiders.com. And they had the 3rd best turnover differential in the league behind San Francisco and Dallas with +8. Now, this defense, I've complained about this defense, mostly the defensive coordinator. But despite my complaints, they're actually a very productive defense. They're 2nd in total defense in terms of yards allowed, 1st in pass defense, 17th in rush defense, the biggest Achilles heel of this team. A lot of that comes from the fact that they are not great tacklers. They are a smaller defense in the 2nd and 3rd levels. However, this team can fly around. They only allow 20.2 points per game, which is 8th best in the league. And their number 1 stat that they led across the league, and it wasn't very close, is sacks. They had 70 sacks, 15 more than the Kansas City Chiefs, who were 2nd. All this leads to a ranking of 6 in defensive DVOA in the league. Now, gentlemen, I've given you the DVOA for both teams. The Philadelphia Eagles are 3rd overall in DVOA and total team DVOA. The Kansas City Chiefs are 4th. This is, without a doubt, what?
Who were 1 and 2? Was it like Cincinnati and Buffalo?
I don't have that on me right now, but I can check for you. Or if you want to buy me some time.
Yeah, I'll try to figure it out here. Well, let me see the team ones.
It'll show you one, it'll show you if you don't have an account, it'll just show you the one that you search for.
Okay, Buffalo and San Francisco. Cincinnati's 5th.
Okay, there you go. Buffalo and San Francisco. So those are 1 and 2, and they're both out of the playoffs because they're not as good as their rankings would suggest. Anyway, during this playoff run for the Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional round, 38 points put on the New York Giants, only 7 allowed. And then again, they only allow 7 points to the San Francisco 49ers in a 31-7 win. Now, granted, that was a weird game. They knocked out both quarterbacks out of that game, but you know what? Despite injuries being a product sometimes of just being fluky, in this case, the defensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles still had to get to the quarterbacks, still had to hit them, and that's what they do best. And that's one of the reasons why Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson were both knocked out of that game. Now, in this playoff run, their average of points per game are 34. Their average of total yards put up are 342. 134 yards passing, which on the surface doesn't look great, especially for those who have concerns of Jalen Hurts and his shoulder injury. But when you look into the game, they have 208 yards rushing. They didn't really need to air it out to beat either team. Now, had Brock Purdy been healthy, who knows if they had to rely on Jalen Hurts and his arm, especially since he has struggled since coming back from injury with connecting with the deep ball. He's been 3 of 10 on throws over 20 yards in his last 2 games, or just the last game against San Francisco. Either way, not a pretty stat line. However, he is now coming into, I believe, 65 days removed from the injury. So he should be in a better spot now than he was then. And hopefully in the Super Bowl, he is able to show that he can connect on these deep passes. Now, the defense, they've been lights out, clearly, only allowing 7 points in both contests. They've allowed 195 yards per game total, allowing 96 in the air and 99 on the ground. So this defense has definitely stepped up to the plate and has been absolutely dominant. Performances we have not seen from them really all year, despite the fact that they put up some really nice stats. They haven't really pitched any shutouts or anything close to a shutout, other than like a handful of times, like when they did against the Tennessee Titans, and I think one of their games against the Giants, where I think it was that last game against the Giants. Other than that, they don't really stop teams from scoring all that much. Oh, sorry, the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, that's the game. And the Washington not football team, the Washington Commanders. Those are the only times that they've held anybody to single digits. Was twice early in the year. So early in that 2-week stretch, that was a dominant defense. Other than that, it just didn't feel like they were that dominant.
Was it a dominant defense, or was it just those two teams struggle sometimes?
A little column A, a little column B.
Yeah, I mean, holding any NFL team to single digits is nothing to scoff at for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So clearly, guys, on both ends of the spectrum, these two teams bring a lot to the table, and they've shown why they are the best two teams remaining in this dance. Now,
I have some questions for you about Eagles injuries. If you didn't, I didn't see that you had that anywhere.
No. I don't have that listed, but I'm ready for any questions you guys got for either team.
I just don't know how realistic any of these questionables actually are that I've seen over the last 2 days for the Eagles. I know Landon Dickerson says he's playing. I didn't see anything about Lane Johnson. I just see these listed as questionable.
Right. So with both guys, Landon Dickerson questionable for the elbow. If you saw the game against the 49ers, he had a really nasty looking hyperextension. It's nothing more than that. It's not been reported to be anything worse. He may not be 100% in the game, but he also isn't in such bad shape that he would have to miss any snaps, right?
Sure.
Now Lane Johnson, that is the wildest one in this entire lineup of players listed as questionable. All right, because he is playing with a torn groin. Yes. So there's been various reports of it being a hernia, a torn abdomen, a torn this, torn that. He has gone and said that it's a torn groin, and he actually had a re-tear against the Giants. So he tore it, I believe, at the end of the season, and they had the bye. He got health. He tried to just rehab it And at the end of the Giants game, at some point, somebody reported that he said that he had another tear of the same injury.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
he played
managed.
an NFL game with a torn groin, yeah.
Yeah. And then the very next week, he put the clamps on the defensive player of the year, Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa was not a factor in that game whenever he was lined up against Lane Johnson. Most defensive players aren't a factor when they line up against a Lane Johnson.
And then Avonte Maddox, how...
So Avonte Maddox is questionable with a toe injury. He's definitely going to play.
Okay.
There's been no signs of anybody having any doubts of him playing. It would be a concern if he did have to miss any healthy number of snaps in the Super Bowl. His backup is not necessarily really good, Zach McPherson. One thing about this Eagles team is that they are very heavy on talent in terms of their starters, but their backups, outside of the offensive line and defensive line, they don't really have any quality backups to speak of. I mean, if you want to argue that Gardner Minshew is a high quality backup, I'll hear you out on that argument, despite the fact that he looked god awful against the Saints. But just in terms of ranking him amongst the best backup quarterbacks in the league, I mean, yeah, he's up there. Avonte Maddox does not have a high quality corner replacement. If anything, what they would do is they'll put Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in the slot, and then they will move Reed Blankenship into the starting safety position. Now, there is one little weird nugget of an injury update for the Philadelphia Eagles that doesn't involve them, and it's their punter. Not that anybody gives a shit about if a punter is going to play or not, but
it's a pretty big deal.
I guess. I mean, if the punter is the biggest injury concern that you have going into a game, you're in a pretty good spot, I'd say. And yeah, Aaron Sipos had I think a broken ankle or something. They never really got in. Nobody really got full details of the injury, but Eagles signed former Tennessee Titans punter Brent Kern. He's been awful for the most part. He had a pretty good game against, or he's had a pretty good showing in the playoffs. But all in all, he's been just generally bad, right? And Aaron Sipos is not a good punter by any means, but if you have garbage on one side and just bad on the other, you're probably going to take just bad, right? And so we'll see. They have until, I believe, Saturday to make a decision of whether to bring him up or not. The Eagles still have an open roster spot, so they can use that to bring up somebody from the practice squad for depth, or they can bring up Aaron Sipos. Either way, it'd be really weird for a team to bring up two punters for one game.
This NBC Sports article says Sipos suffered a serious lower leg injury when he was hit near the sideline after scooping up a blocked punt deep in Eagles territory.
Yeah, and he almost ran that for a first down, which is a pretty sick play. But yeah, that's about it. It just says here listed on the team site that he's listed with an ankle injury.
Yeah.
So
he's been out of the walking boot. So that's weird. This was written before the NFC Championship game. It seemed like he was getting ready to play that game. Did he play that game?
No,
I wasn't paying that much attention. Okay.
No, he did not. It was Brett Kern. Brett Kern had his best game as a punter against the San Francisco 49ers. Not that that's saying much, especially like the only notable thing that you could say about his game against the Niners is that he punted the ball into the TV cable. I don't know if you guys were watching that game, but they had like a weird stoppage. Yeah.
But did he? We never saw it.
We never saw it, right? But it was just a weird punt where it just came shooting right back down. Like, what? But yeah.
That was a really strange moment.
Yeah, that is a really strange moment. I'm going to have to ask.
It's incredible that in a camera world where everyone literally has cameras on all the time, we didn't get that.
Not a single angle. I'm going to have to ask the referee whenever I see him about that. Little name drop. I know NFL referee John Hussey. Did I put the fakes in that game? Who knows? But yeah,
That's how
all.
we don't get any sportsbook sponsors.
Not yet. Not yet. Just wait. Just wait. Hey, sports books, come talk to us. I know a referee in the league. But yeah, that's about it on the injury front for the Eagles. Now, if you guys were wondering about the injury front for the Chiefs, they have Mecole Hardman officially out. He's been placed on injured reserve with a pelvis injury. That's sad for that guy. You hate to see somebody get hurt right before the biggest game of their career. And that does put a hamper on the Kansas City Chiefs. They don't have star wide receivers. It is like receiver by committee. And they did just fine without him. They did just fine without their 3 starting wide receivers. They still managed to win the AFC Championship game.
That wide receiver depth chart doesn't look so great right now. I was just
Not at all.
a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, not at all. And we will go over the depth charts for both teams, and I want to get your guys' opinions as we go through the list. Because I just want you guys to just kind of, you may not know all the names, but for both teams, but you might get an idea as we go along just which team has a higher quality of player at which spot. The only other questionable injury that the Kansas City Chiefs have here is going to be L'Jarius Sneed. I believe he is their slot corner and sometimes plays on the outside. He's listed as questionable with a knee injury. He practiced on Thursday or today in a limited capacity. So he should be good to go, but he's definitely not going to be 100% in that game. Now, if I'm not mistaken, he was also in concussion protocol, but I can't quite remember because I didn't get to watch the entirety of the AFC championship game, but I did know that he got hurt along with Kadarius Toney and Mecole Hardman. And I don't even remember who else got hurt, but there was another player in that game that got hurt, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways.
Either Tershawn Wharton or Justin Ross, probably.
Well, no, they've both been out since Justin Ross.
A while. He's on the IR right now, so
yeah. They probably got hurt in game and then came back. But yeah, Justin Ross did not play this entire season. He had one of the weirdest draft falls in the NFL because of his injury. And then I don't know anything about Tershawn Wharton. No disrespect to him, it's hard to keep up with every player in the league. But yeah. Now, gentlemen, let's get to the next part of the tell of the tape, and that is comparing the two teams' depth charts. Now, I'm going to just go by position, and I want to get both of your opinions on who you think has the edge at that particular position. Now, I think we're all going to be in agreement on this one, but we're going to start with quarterback. You have Jalen Hurts on one side. You have Patrick Mahomes on the other. I think we're going to all be in agreement here that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in this matchup and just in general.
Yeah.
What about
no
ever?
offense to Hurts.
Ever.
What about ever? Listen. I would be.
Let's just relax.
Well, he's about to have 2, right?
He might.
Relax about that one.
He might.
All right.
Let's relax. We don't know yet. We'll get there. We'll get there. All right, running back, guys. On the Philadelphia Eagles, you have Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, and Kenny Gainwell. On the Kansas City Chiefs, you have Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire. For me, I am going with the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know. The Kenny Gainwell, great third down back, or at least in the playoffs, he's been a great third down back, catching balls out of the backfield. Boston Scott, he's a shifty little guy, and I can say that because he's my height. And then Miles Sanders, I don't know, he might be the best player from that running back room in Penn State when it was him and Saquon.
Yeah. I can't go against my guy McKinnon.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. That Chiefs team that's a pretty good room there, and they use those guys in pretty interesting ways too.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Push. I feel like that's a real push for me.
I think if you were saying just straight running back, like running a traditional offense, Yes, I would pick the Eagles, but I think that the way both teams use their offenses, that doesn't necessarily translate the same. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but does it help if I tell you that Miles Sanders was 5th in the league in rushing?
No, I know. I know he's good. Honestly, I think Pacheco's a little underrated too at this point.
That was a great find for the Kansas City Chiefs, man. He was a 7th round draft pick.
He's sneaky. Got Super Bowl MVP. Like it's kind of in the cards for him. The way that I feel like the game could play out.
Actually, that's a good point. Patrick, could you look up his Super Bowl MVP odds?
Yeah.
Isaiah Pacheco MVP.
Saying if it's a bit of a slogger knocker of a game, they gotta punch in a couple of tight ones. They gotta play a little physical football.
I got him at plus 5,000 on this whatever site is. Just first one I pulled up. I've never looked at this site before. So
all right, so it sounds like Bethke's probably gonna put his money on Isaiah Pacheco.
Let's have him on my more traditional search for these things, plus 4,000.
All right,
a little bit of a long shot.
A little bit, but hey, put $10 on that, and if he wins, you get a nice little something.
I feel like Mahomes is just so overwhelming. Like
he feels inevitable.
It's almost like everybody, but then the time that Steph Curry didn't win it. It's always like in the finals, they'll just give it to the best player, or whenever they felt bad for Tony Parker, they gave it to him.
I don't hear a rebuttal from the one Spurs fan in this. Pod.
I mean, look, you could give it to whoever you want. It's a weird award, and it's sometimes used to show that someone's better, and then sometimes it's used to be like, oh, they just gave it to whoever. So I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes the best player on the team has to go up against Zydrunas Ilgauskas and Anderson Varejao and Drew Gooden, and the other one has Booby Miles and old Eric Snow.
Man, someone's not happy about that 2007 finals.
I very much enjoyed that entire. That was one of my favorite postseason runs. Tim Duncan hitting a 3 against the Suns was just, oh my god.
I have no problem with it, other than the fact that Tim Duncan should have been the Finals MVP. That's it.
Look, I mean, that's fine with me too. I would have liked that as well.
That's the only beef I have with it.
There you go.
I'm not gonna. I know that he doesn't care, so that's fine with me.
True.
All right, guys. Now let's go ahead, Bethke.
No, you're good. I don't want to drag this any further.
All right. Let's look over to the receivers. Philadelphia Eagles. They boast AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Quez Watkins as their 3 starting wide receivers.
Not even close.
Yeah, and then on the other side you have Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and Kadarius Toney.
Is this a dance better?
No, not at all.
Right,
It's just who can catch a football better.
All right, well then I think that's it's almost as big of a open and shut case as the quarterback position.
There you go. Patrick, what about you? Are you a believer in this Kansas City Chiefs wide receiving core?
They're okay, but I think the Eagles got this one.
Right? Yeah, that is the perfect.
I mean, they're
definition
serviceable.
This.
They're serviceable for sure. With Patrick Mahomes, you're fine. They're great.
Exactly. And they won with just having one of them last week. Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Oh, and Sky Moore, the rookie Sky Moore.
We're about to get to another important part of the passing game that might be,
Now this one, listen, this one to me is more of a push than the running back one, and that's Dallas Goedert and Travis Kelce. Now I'm going to give the edge to Kansas City with Travis Kelce, but
I'm sorry,
Dallas Goedert's a top 5.
Do the Eagles have the Belldozer on their roster?
Yeah, dude. What are you talking about here? Like, I respect Dallas Goedert's progression, but
listen, the Belldozer's the 4th string tight end. I don't want to hear it from you.
And I assume the emergency QB as well.
Yeah, but bro, you're talking about like Kelce is like this is one of the best tight ends in the history of the game.
Yeah, of course.
Travis
And
Kelce
I
just-
and I and I
Goddard's
will
good.
give them that. I will give them that. I'm just saying, to me, it's more of a push than what you guys were saying in terms of the running back rooms.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would feel like the running back room is the tighter of the two races. The tight end, I feel like it's like I think Dallas Goedert's a really good player, and it's not impossible that in 2 years we're talking about him in similar vein. But I just can't. Travis Kelce's such a fucking game breaker. Like,
Absolutely.
it's just bullshit sometimes. Like the thing that Kittle did to the Cowboys. Like when you have a tight end that can just do some shit like that, that's so different than anything else. And like Goddard's possibly in that same world, but I don't feel like he's there now.
No, I mean
Yeah.
the Vikings just getting a top 10 tight end turned them into at least a playoff team this year. It didn't,
Yeah,
didn't do any more than that because he can only do so much. But
Yeah, you can't
It's-
block all the time.
it's crazy.
The guy. But yeah, no, I'm in complete agreement that Travis Kelce is the better tight end in this game, and he is one of the best tight ends we've ever seen. And so we're gonna go ahead and give that to Kansas City Chiefs.
And Noah Gray's pretty good too.
Who?
Noah Gray.
No, I don't really know too much about Noah Gray, but he is, if he's good, he's good, right? But he's not Travis Kelce, and he's certainly not Dallas Goedert either.
No.
is Travis
Now
Kelce
to the
the
most-
greatest tight end
the
to ever
most
play for the
important-
Chiefs?
Is he the greatest player to ever play for the Chiefs?
No, the greatest tight end to ever play for the Chiefs.
Oh shit, that's a good question. If
Not
he wins, you know what? No, well, once he's eventually going to break those Tony Gonzalez records,
No,
and when
Tony
he does,
Gonzalez had Trent Green as one of the best players in football for a year.
Did you know Tony Gonzalez used to play basketball?
oh, jeez.
They're actually one of the only ones who played like good Division I basketball too.
Also, if we look at actually, I want to look at this because I want to see who he's had for a quarterback longer, Mahomes or Alex Smith.
Gotta be
He's-
Mahomes, right?
Let's see, he's been around since 2014. So from 14 to 17, he had Alex Smith. So that's what one.
He's been around long enough to have
Yes,
a
of course.
reality
Yeah, so-
show.
Yeah, he's had Mahomes longer than he's had Alex Smith, but for a good chunk of time, he was putting up numbers with Alex Smith. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, not the numbers
That's
he's
the cool
putting
thing
up
about
now.
tight end. You can get that done because Kelsey can stretch the field, but with tight ends, you don't necessarily have to stretch the field to get some big numbers. Whereas a lot of your wide receiver ones, that's where
better
they're,
chance you get thrown at.
yeah. But I hope that we're not going to skip over the most important position in football in the
No, don't you dare start with the fullback.
because one team
Has a
definitely
fullback.
wins this because they have a fullback.
Listen. Listen.
That's got to count. I mean, sorry, it's got to count.
Sure,
point-
yeah. The
The
Kansas
point on the
City.
balance beam.
If this was Deadliest Warrior,
Are all these evenly weighted? Is this weighted like House of Representatives, or is this weighted like the Senate?
It's weighted as the House of Representatives and not the Senate. You do not get equal representation in the Senate. Okay, all right. Listen, I get it. Kansas City Chiefs have the best fullback in the NFL remaining, I guess. Cal Juszczyk might have something. I don't know. I don't know anything about Michael Burton, bro. He's a fucking fullback. Who gives a shit? Okay, who gives a shit?
you know his name. That's good enough.
He has 5 carries for 7 yards. That's Michael Burton.
But
Okay,
how many
Walking,
touchdowns?
dude.
0. I don't know.
No.
Actually, let me look. I
Give
don't
him a
want to be.
fullback dives
No,
in the red
0.
zone.
It's
0
zero.
touchdowns. All
Yeah.
right, 0 touchdowns rushing. Let's see, receiving. Also 0. He has 3.
He's
he
got
has
one in his
2 catches
career.
for 11 yards.
So this is the true long shot odds that I'm betting for the Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, if you
Dude,
bet
could
$1
you
on him,
imagine?
I'll
Is he
listen.
Is he even listed anywhere? Could you even
Bro.
get those odds if you weren't in a sports book?
I would lose my absolute fucking mind if the Eagles lose a Super Bowl because a fucking fullback decided to go off for like
Oh,
100 total yards and 3 touchdowns.
You're gonna quit the podcast if that happens, because
Oh my god, just delete myself from this trio.
I'm gonna go nuts if that.
I'll
that
never live it
happens.
down. But I'm willing to take the safe bet that fucking what's his face, Michael Burton.
My site
is not gonna go off.
Does not even offer me the odds on Michael Burton.
There you go. You got to go to some shady online sports book for that one.
For the real degenerates.
I feel like that's where I am, but
well, then you got to go shadier.
I guess I'm doing better than I thought.
Yeah, there you go. Let's move on to the offensive line. All right, so we're just gonna go across the entire unit for each team. So for the Philadelphia Eagles, you have Jordan Mailata at left tackle, Landon Dickerson at left guard, Jason Kelsey at center, Isaac Seumalo at right guard, and then Lane Johnson over at right tackle. And then just for those listening, all 5 are either named a Pro Bowler or a Pro Bowl alternate, and then 2 of them were named All-Pro, and Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson. So a decorated offensive line on one side, and a not-so-decorated offensive line on the other, though they do have some really talented guys. Orlando Brown Jr. at left tackle, Joe Thuney, left guard, Creed Humphreys, center, Trey Smith, right guard, and then Andrew Wiley at right tackle.
So you're saying that one is better because they got to attend a flag football game?
Oh no, they both got to miss the flag football game. So there you go. However, I think
they were
only
picked for the flag football game.
They were picked for the flag. Yes, all 5 in one way or another. And then let me see. I want to say that Orlando Brown was a first teamer this year.
No, I want to be a hater, but obviously this is another pretty easy one to give to the Eagles.
Patrick?
I do not know well enough to say, so I'm going to trust your expertise on this one.
Yeah, really, it's about the blocking assignments. You know, if they don't fill in the gaps correctly, really things are going to come down to a problem there.
But really, what I think looking at the Eagles' depth chart more for their offensive line is that they have less guys repeating positions within the depth chart.
Yeah, they have Andre Dillard, Jack Driscoll, Cam Jurgens, Brett Toth.
Someone I've never heard named Julian Good Jones, which is a cool name. Good -Jones.
Hey,
no,
it's listed as the 4th left tackle.
What about Mills?
What about who?
What about Mills?
Mills.
Yeah,
are you talking about Stills?
Yeah, whichever one.
Oh yeah, no, we don't talk about that guy.
The one that I'm not gonna let us talk about.
Listen, we'll talk more about that in the off season.
More develops. No idea what y'all are referencing.
Listen, there's this scumbag named Josh Stills, all right, and for whatever godforsaken reason, the Philadelphia Eagles just have not cut him, and it's not a good look. It's just not a good look.
Jr.
Oh, yeah. Just seeing that headline. Okay, another more fun news, maybe. You guys, what is he? You're listed like 4th right tackle.
He's like a backup guard that's mostly been on the practice squad.
He's from Cedar Hill, so that's kind of cool.
Is anything about this guy cool? All right, yeah.
No further comment necessary.
I'm talking about Jared Williams, not
Sills. Oh, okay.
Sorry, that's like I said, the 4th right tackle, Jared Williams.
Okay, I was
on a better note is what I was trying to say. Trying to bring in some better news. Is you guys have a guy who's local to us?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was very concerned for a second. Very concerned that we were giving.
My apologies that I did not present that clearly.
Yeah, I was like, yo, where's this podcast going right now?
It's like, well, usually we would say this is bad, but it's a local product.
I was like, why don't they like that this guy's from Cedar Hill? I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, he's cool. Everybody else can fuck right off. All right. Wait, what?
So as long as he's treating women right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as long
there's
as the
no. There was
as long as everybody
there's
else on the
literally. It just says no
roster-
available information on his ESPN profile, so that's pretty
Uh,
much the best you could ask for, honestly.
Yeah.
You're getting an NFL paycheck, and no one knows anything.
Oh, and I misspoke about Orlando Brown being a NFL All Pro this year. It was just Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, and then Tommy Townsend, their punter. So yeah, not as decorated of an offensive line as the Eagles, but
Now I know who's going to win
I
the
digress.
punter.
yeah,
It's
right.
only because they don't vote fullbacks into the Pro Bowl, though.
Are we sure about that? I feel like Kyle Juszczyk has been named a Pro Bowler like 3 years in a row now, just because he's the only other fullback in the league.
They should
I
just
thought I
keep
could-
getting. Go for it.
I thought I could throw that out there without anyone knowing any different, because I have no idea if they vote on Pro Bowl fullbacks.
Fair
They
enough.
they should just let Mike Allscott do it.
Michael, long
Like,
since retired
yeah.
Michael Allstott.
Yeah, like still, it's just a flag football game. Fuck it.
Yeah, he'd be
Oh,
he'd
yeah.
be a 30 consecutive All Pro or no full Pro Bowls, right? Just some insane number.
Retire.
here we got-
So,
We got the Ravens fullback and Kyle Juszczyk.
who's the
There we
Ravens
go.
for?
Patrick Ricard.
yeah,
Oh right, yeah.
yeah, that's a big guy.
Yeah.
I
Played
was
at
By the way-
Maine.
at a fullback this year allegedly.
Of course he played at Maine.
Absolutely. Yo, hold on. Can you guys hear my dogs in the background?
No,
Oh, perfect. All right, cool. Because they're losing their mind right now. Anyway, let's continue on to the defenses for both teams. Here we go. Now these two teams, both defensive lines that can get after the quarterback, though if you look at their numbers, it is really skewed on one side for one team, and then the other it's kind of more spread out. With the Eagles, you have Brandon Graham had 11 sacks, Fletcher Cox had 6, Javon Hargrave 11, and Josh Sweat with 11. And then, although he's listed as a linebacker, he does play mostly on the edge. Hassan Reddick, who led the team in sacks with 16.
What does a SLB stand for? Is that like split linebacker or something?
No,
I've
strong
ever
side
seen that
linebacker.
Oh, duh. Oh my god. I was like, I don't think I've ever seen that abbreviation.
Yeah, you're gonna have to keep that in the pod. Can't edit that one out.
I guess I
Uh,
always see people listed as mid MLBs and OLBs.
Yeah, or ROLLB.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
just don't normally
that-
see the.
That's Madden rot in your brain, son.
Yeah,
In
that's
video
probably it.
games.
to be fair, saying strong side and weak side is also just like unnecessary sports jargon.
Remember the Titans, bro.
True. All you really have to
Emotional
say is
scene.
yeah, all you have to
They
say
say
is
strong
once-
side, left side, which is really
Yeah,
confusing.
It's so goofy. It's like even on the basketball court, I'm like, you guys don't. This is not the easiest way to teach human beings how to figure out directions. Like what?
No. Yeah, not at all. Just call one the outside linebacker and the other one the other outside linebacker, and then you're good. But yeah, let's look over at Kansas City Chiefs. You have George Karlaftis, Colin Sanders, Chris Jones, who had 15 and a half sacks, Frank Clark, who has a big name in I feel like in NFL circles, but this season really didn't produce that much. He only had 5 sacks. The guy's really hot and cold in terms of his production from year to year. And then you also have Carlos Dunlap, who also plays out on the edge. Not too dissimilar from Hassan Reddick. Yeah, I'm going to give this edge to the Philadelphia Eagles. That to me, it's not even that close. But you guys are more than welcome to give your opinions.
There. There's enough talent for me to believe that Kansas City can do enough.
Yeah,
I
but
still, like honestly, I
for
still-
exercise reasons,
is Chris Jones the best player in those two groups?
maybe, but like,
Not by a lot.
what's the gap between him and the next best on his side versus what's the gap between Hassan Reddick and then
definitely
whoever
definitely.
is, you know? And that's part of the exercise to see who just has the better defensive line on this one. Now we can also go into backups because they do rotate. So on the Eagles, you'll have Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph, and Jordan Davis, Robert Quinn coming off the bench. And then for the Chiefs, you'll have some guy named Mike Dana, Brandon Williams. Derek Nandi is a good player, and that's about as deep as they go at defensive line. Any thoughts on which side we're taking on this one?
It's the Eagles.
I was trying to pull up pressure stats, but I don't want to pay for Pro Football Focus. I don't know that I'll ever get good pressure stats unless.
If you want to know what the pressure stat is, the Philadelphia Eagles are in first place in terms of pressure, and the gap, and then the New England Patriots were second, and then the gap between second and 32nd is the same gap between the Eagles and the Patriots. Sure. If I'm not misquoting what I've been hearing on the Ringer Philly special with Shil Kapadia and Ben Solak. That's been the prevailing stat that I've been hearing all week long
from the Boston Philadelphia propaganda device apparatus.
Exactly. Yes, sir. I'm subscribed to that.
So if I'm looking at team advanced defense according to Pro Football Reference, which is hurries, knockdowns, sacks, the Chiefs are actually number 1. The Eagles are number 3, tied with the Jaguars.
Oh, look at that.
Cowboys were 5th. But these stats, well, this is just this is whatever their formula is for pressure, though. So everyone does it a little differently.
Well, it's just to say that the Chiefs may not stack up. The Philly Eagles have probably had a better season statistically, but there's enough evidence to show that if there is a one-game anomaly, it wouldn't be that much of an anomaly, actually.
And they're also both pretty close in whatever
pressure rate is.
Oh, per drop back. Yeah, okay.
Fair enough. Either way, one side put up 70 sacks and the other one put up 55. But in terms of just pressuring the quarterback, they're on par with each other. And pressuring the quarterback can sometimes be just as effective as just getting a sack. So,
yeah.
Either way,
I don't know. I don't watch Hurts enough to know what his escape options are and how he handles that, getting rid of the ball. But I do know that Mahomes is maybe the best at it outside of Josh Allen potentially. But
still, he's got the crazy just Steph Curry bullshit artist maneuvers.
Yeah.
The guy runs like he has to take a shit, and he just always manages to avoid pressure. Like, have we not talked about? I feel like we have not talked about enough of how just weird Patrick Mahomes runs with the football. Just that weird little running stride that he has. It's just always like damn, I gotta go to the bathroom. Damn, I gotta go. And then he just gets the ball off for a 40-yard completion.
He's got weird, messed up walking too. I don't know if you've ever seen him walk. Like, he doesn't walk like a normal human being.
It must be because he eats his steak with ketchup. That has to be it, right?
Or he's just gotten hurt so many times.
Physically mangled from the sporty plays.
I know. I've seen Kawhi try to walk before, and that doesn't look like a human being either.
I'm gonna drop. Wait, what?
I said all NBA players walk the exact same because the same things happen to your body.
Fair enough. I will say though, I like my theory just a little bit better, but y'all's make sense. So we'll go with logic over fun. Now let's look at the linebackers. This one, I don't know. I don't really know on this one, guys. You have Kaiser White and TJ Edwards for the Philadelphia Eagles. They only play 2 linebackers. We're not going to count Hassan Reddick, even though he's kind of officially listed as a linebacker, but he doesn't really play that much linebacking snaps. And then for the Chiefs, you have Willie Gay and Nick Bolton. Now, if you don't know much about either side, I'll just give you some numbers, and you can make a blind judgment off that. Kaiser White, 66 tackles, 1.5 sacks as a outside linebacker. TJ Edwards, he had 99 solo tackles, 159 total tackles. And then for the Chiefs, for Willie Gay, he had 88 total tackles, 51 of them were solo. He had an interception. And then Nick Bolton, he had 108 solo tackles and 180 tackles in total. That's insane. 108 solo tackles? Shit. Didn't know that. I'm going to say this one's a push. I don't think either side really has an advantage at linebacker. But again, I don't really know too much about the Chiefs linebacking core. I'm just not that confident in the Eagles linebacking core.
It looks like the Eagles have more bodies there for sure.
Is Anthony Hitchens
For
out of
whatever
the
that
league now?
means.
Is what? Anthony Hitchens still?
Is he out of the league now?
I think so. He's not on the. He's not on the Chiefs team. That's
Damn.
for sure.
I was so happy when he won a Super Bowl. I was like,
Were
you
you-
deserve this, buddy.
Were you as happy as for DeMarcus Ware?
Absolutely.
Who I think just got announced to be in the Hall of Fame.
I was gonna mention that, but I didn't want to mess up the flow of what, the game.
Yeah,
Denver
dude.
Broncos legend DeMarcus Ware, by the way.
Yeah,
Broncos.
I definitely am glad because DeMarcus Ware is the only Cowboy I feel the worst about how much his career's been bungled by the clown show. Probably Zach
Doesn't-
Martin is the only one who's above that.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter that much since he did end up getting a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and a dumbass move by the team to cut him to save money to not use it or to use it on Brandon Carr.
Yeah, that was bad decision making on that one. But yeah, gentlemen, let's get a verdict on this. Who are you siding with?
I'm just gonna call it a push because I literally have no idea on these linebackers.
Willie Gay sounds like an NFL player's name, so I like him better.
I think his dad played in the league, actually.
There you go. Did we really have a Willie Gay? Wasn't he a running back though?
Willis McGahee.
No, that's true. There was one of those, but I think there was a running back too.
I'm not.
Either way,
I'm not sure. I'm looking up his.
it's a corner or something.
I actually I can't. Yeah, I don't think he has a father. It doesn't say he has a father in the NFL. so
No.
I must be confused. Well, there was somebody with the last name Gay in the NFL. I think he played for the Patriots as well.
Either way,
All right. So we have a push on my end, push from Patrick. Bethke, what say you?
Chiefs out of spite.
Chiefs out of spite. Heard. All right. Let's move on to the secondary. This is where, again, this seems a little one-sided in my opinion. We'll just go with corners and then we'll go on to safeties. So starting corner, James Bradbury and Darius Slay for the Philadelphia Eagles. For the Kansas City Chiefs, we have rookie Trent McDuffie and questionable player, fourth-year player, L'Jarius Sneed. Yeah, this one doesn't seem close at all. This seems like a runaway for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Big play Slay.
Yeah, big play Slay. Patrick, are we all unanimous in favor of the Eagles having the better corners?
Yeah, it definitely looks that way.
I think this whole thing's just been an exercise to flex the Philly Eagles.
He's trying.
Almost.
He's really pushing the.
I'm trying, but also
We're
it
come down harder on you if your team chokes.
listen.
You set this up.
is more. Listen, this is more about an exercise in seeing the two teams
You
and
know
how.
I'm still picking Pat Mahomes over your team,
I kn-
right? You make a
I know.
good point.
I
but
know
I'm
you are.
picking
I know
Pat
you
Mahomes.
absolutely are.
It ain't because I'm a hater. It ain't because of the
Listen.
Cowboys. It's because Pat Mahomes.
I understand. There's an exercise that I want to do, and there's a thing that I want to do, and it involves comparing both rosters, and it goes into the predictions. And it's basically this: it's the best roster, it's the best roster versus the best quarterback in football, right?
Yep.
This is what this matchup is. This is what it's been leading to. And I'll just go ahead and say this: I think the Eagles and the Chiefs, in terms of safety play, are about a push. CJ Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship, Marcus Epps, and then you have Justin Reed, who's pretty good. One Thornhill, who can be beat, on occasion. They only go 2 safeties most of the time. Well, they have Brian Cook, who's a rookie who comes off the bench from time to time as well. Either way, I think we could go ahead and just say this. The Chiefs have the best punter, too. Let's not forget about that. And then kicker, we could just call that a push, I guess, maybe. I go with Jake Elliott.
I would probably pick your guy. I don't even know that much about the Chiefs guy. Just
Butker's been
Harrison
around
Butker.
forever.
oh yeah, Bunker has been. Yeah, that's a fair. Yeah, that's about.
Yeah.
That's about the
He
same thing.
was,
But he's
He
had
was-
a bad year this season.
35th in field goal percentage this season and 31st in extra
Mm.
point percentage. But he did hit the longest field goal of the year, or tied it.
He did.
Which was the record, right? The
Brett
62.
Maher can do that. You know,
No, that's
you
not
can
the
also miss 5 in a row, extra points. You know, kickers are.
And he was only 27th in points on an offense that scored a lot, so that's not great.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, Jake
Yes.
Elliott's probably got the edge on that one right now.
Oh, definitely.
fair
He
enough.
yeah, there we go. But anyway, the story of this game then, guys, just based on all the information that I presented to you, at the end of the day, it's the best team or the best roster versus the best quarterback. And it's really going to come down, in my opinion, to the coaching, right? Andy Reid, he is going to forever be considered one of the best offensive minds the league's ever seen. I've seen him lead team after team to conference championship game. He's done what? 10 conference championship games between 2 different teams. Insane. His biggest Achilles heel his entire career has been his mismanagement of his team in game, right? He's always well prepared during a bye week, but it's those in-game mistakes that always seems to get him. And the thing that has saved him from that in his time in Kansas City has been Patrick Mahomes. Because like we've said, he's a cheat code. He's one of the best we've ever seen, period. And then on the other side, you have a less heralded quarterback who, let's be real, he's been really good this season, but he's not Patrick Mahomes, right? And you have a relatively untested head coach in Nick Sirianni, right? It's his second year, but in this second year, he's proven that he is a really good game manager and he knows how to adjust from series to series. And it's going to come down to, I think, the coaching staffs in this game. And I'm not here to compare either or. I'm just trying to, or not compare, but I'm not trying to put them in this tail of the tape. It's more or less something's got to give between these two teams. Go ahead, Patrick.
I was just gonna say, I'm convinced that Nick Sirianni just fucking tanked his initial press conference just so that he could be like, "Look, guys, this is how you can improve. Look how bad I was, and I got better."
Oh my god,
God,
that'd
that
be
would-
some fun shit.
That
That would be the
PR
most
bullshit. Some dumb marketing idiot
Yeah.
told him to do it.
As soon as he washes up as a coach, he should start being a motivational spokesman ASAP.
My God, that would be amazing. I'd go to one of those. Yeah, that would be the most 4D chess move I've ever heard of. Is like, yeah, I purposely tanked my opening pressure because I just knew I was gonna fucking crush it.
You got to be smart.
Yeah,
That's the only quote I can really remember. We got to be smart.
gotta be
Feel
smart.
like, I do feel like it's a lot of Jalen Hurts. I feel like the team will obviously give him enough chances. I don't think that there will be any way for Kansas City to blow Philly out. But it does feel like if it's neck and neck, 15 gonna be the difference maker there. I don't care how
Yeah.
good a pass rush you got.
Yeah, and that's fair. In
But
this
it
game, from
is any given Sunday.
Yeah,
It
and the formula is there. Obviously, he has lost a Super Bowl to a similar-ish team.
And just kind of similar to bowl games in college, this game is just so different than other games the whole rest of the season. You know what I mean? Like the vibe's different.
yeah,
There was a week off between. They do all this media shit, just building up to it. Then they're playing at like a weird time where like extra long halftime. It's just a weird game.
and there's way more stoppage of play because of the TV timeouts.
The fans aren't football fans, really.
right.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't know about this one. Eagles fans will find a way. But yeah,
people
no,
are represented, but it's just, you know what I mean? Like, it's a weird vibe when it's just like,
oh yeah, it's really corporate. By no,
everybody.
yeah, by no means is it a normal football game, and even in terms of the fans in attendance. I mean, look at those outrageous ticket prices. Your typical football fan is not going to be able to afford that.
And I don't know enough about athlete psychology, especially at that level, to know how much any of that really affects them. But I do imagine that they're pretty routine schedule guys. So doing something just slightly different, like a longer halftime's got to feel really weird.
For me, it's just about, it's like, I feel like legacy matters to athletes way more than they ever let on sometimes. And for me, it's just like, I feel like Mahomes has to have a bitter ass taste in his mouth from that other Super Bowl. Right?
I mean, yes,
I feel like you got to come into
absolutely.
this one and you got to be ready to fucking, your team better lose the game for you. Like, it better be a LeBron situation where you're looking at J.R. Smith at the end of the game. Because
Yeah.
like the people expect all world out of Patrick Mahomes, and that's a lot of pressure in itself too.
And I mean, you just don't know. You just don't know if you're ever getting back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Even-
you're
this
here.
is-
You're here right now. This is your shot.
Yeah, even though this is their third Super Bowl in 5 seasons. So
Yeah.
It feels like there's a good chance, but at the end of the day, you're right. I mean, and it's
I mean,
if anything, I'll say this in terms of the two teams. I have a better feeling about the Chiefs getting back to this stage than I do the Eagles, simply because so many of the Philadelphia Eagles' best players are going to be hitting the free agency market. This feels like a team filled with mercenaries, at least on the defensive side of the football than the offensive side of the football. But it's still, like you need some sort of semblance of balance on both sides, offense and defense, to be able to get to this spot. And yeah, I feel like the Eagles are going to lose that in free agency when they have guys like Slay, guys like Javon Hargrave, guys like James Bradbury, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They're all going into free agency. And you can't bring every single one of those guys back. So at least in terms of that idea of like, you don't know if you'll get back here, I feel like that might reside more, maybe not within the team specifically, but more in the organization with the Eagles than it will with the Chiefs. Because the Chiefs have proven...
Honestly, I don't know that any player actually realizes that. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I don't know that they can in the moment realize that. I think some guys, they talk about it like later in their careers when they're like, oh, dang, I didn't realize how crazy that was. I did that so early.
Yeah, I mean, you'll probably only hear that from retired players. I mean, look at Dan Marino, right? Year 2, absolute juggernaut of an offense, meets the best defense of his generation, probably ever. Who knows? With the 85 Bears, and never gets back there again, right? So yeah, you're right. Who knows what players think about when they're at that stage, if they'll ever get back again. I don't know. I can't say that I know that. I can't say that I've heard anything from any of the Eagles beat writers or any of the bloggers in terms of if that's even something that comes into the discussion for this week. But I think it is. I think it is to some extent, at least in the front office. Maybe not the players, but we'll see. But yeah, let's just go ahead, gentlemen, and finish this up with predictions then. Bethke, you've already let it be known. You are on Team Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, for me, it's really like, I'm interested, and I guess this is the final thing I want to say is like, what's better for the league? This really good, deep, talented Eagles team that sort of doesn't have one player monopolizing any stat, or just the quarterback that's better than everybody just being too good for that to even matter. Because I guess there is a weird way to look at it where if the Eagles just can't come up with a win and it's mostly got to do with the quarterback position, is that almost an indictment on the NFL?
Man, I don't know, but I feel like we've had enough kind of an example of this is with like Brady, right? Because he's been the face of the NFL in terms of quarterbacks. He's been the best player on his team, and there's been teams where they wouldn't have been that great without him, right? I would
also his early Super Bowls, he was not
his early Super
doing
Bowls, he was
just
along for the ride.
He
Yeah,
was fine.
yeah, especially like those first two Super
He
Bowls.
made some very important throws and stuff, but he wasn't leading the entire thing.
Yeah, it wasn't until later in his career. I would say his third Super Bowl against the Eagles was when he was properly being the one who was doing a lot of the carrying. But even then, that team was also pretty well stacked. If you look back at it,
Fucking Corey Dillon, bro. That was still crazy as shit in the world. They just got Corey Dillon. I was like, what? This is not fair.
oh yeah, that was your guy in Madden 2003. You said
Oh, dude.
podcast back.
Dude, any Corey Dillon. Corey Dillon's one of my all-time favorite non-Cowboys.
Corey Dillon, man, that guy was a hell of a power back. He just would not go down. But yeah, no, I don't know, man. It's hard because like in the NBA, it's so much easier to be the face of a league. Like look at LeBron. We've had 2 decades of him, and he's not always been on the best teams, but he's whenever he has been at the stage of the NBA Finals, which is a lot, right? It's been a lot. He dominates the conversation. And I feel like Patrick Mahomes is going to be in that same air that whenever he's in these stages, he's going to dominate the conversation. And that could be a detriment to the league because it's always hearing about one player all the time. But at the same time, like we have to appreciate greatness while it's here because you don't know how often you'll get to see talent like this. So it is a bit of a conundrum, I guess, for the league.
What they're going to do every year is every other young quarterback
is going to have a shot.
They're going to compare him to Mahomes.
Yeah, because that's not going to get old soon.
They're already going to do it every year. So just, yeah. Herbert and Allen already get that talk. Lawrence definitely going to get that talk.
Herbert, Allen, to some extent, there was a little bit of time where Lamar Jackson was getting that.
It's crazy that he gets. I still think he gets slept on a little too much, but we'll see.
Who, Lamar?
If he can stay healthy, yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely slept on, and it's weird because he won the MVP his second year.
It's absolutely insane that he doesn't get as much to talk about. Which, yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and finish this up. Patrick, what are your predictions for this game?
If I was forced to put money on it, I'd probably put it on the Chiefs. But honestly, I do see it as just it's very likely going to come down to some just kind of what happens with the clock and when it happens and who's got the ball there near the end. I think it'll be a really tight game. I'm excited to watch it. But yeah. Chiefs.
Yeah.
Or if you're sports gun to my head.
Fair enough. Chiefs for Bethke, Chiefs for Patrick. For me, I gotta go fly, Eagles fly, baby. Listen, I've never been more at peace with a team than with this team in particular. That 2017 Super Bowl run, it was truly a bunch of underdogs. You look back at that roster and you're like, how the hell did that team win a Super Bowl? Then you look back at the actual run, you're like, yeah, no, they were great. They could have beaten anybody that season, and they did. But again, it was a team filled with underdogs, it was a team filled with underdogs, players stepping up for hurt starters everywhere. This one, it's a healthy 21 of 22 starters. It's been consistent all the way through. I've personally never seen a team like this. The only time that I can remember a team like this was probably the 2004 Eagles that went to the Super Bowl. But even this team has a more balanced roster than that one, at least offensively. Defensively, you could say it's a push. Yeah, I just got to go with it. I'm scared to death of Patrick Mahomes. I don't think this is going to be a low-scoring game. This is probably going to be one of the most high-scoring NFL Super Bowls we have ever seen in our lives. And yet, I trust Jalen Hurts. I trust Nick Sirianni, and I trust that the leaders of that defense will come up clutch when they need to. This could also come back to bite me, and the Eagles get blown out because they have a slow start. However, I don't see that happening as much as I can see this just being back and forth. And at the end of the day, I think with the Eagles having the strength or the advantage in the trenches, I think that's where it's going to come into play. Because eventually that has to come into play at some point, right? I could also see where Patrick Mahomes says, "Yeah, no, fuck that. I'm Patrick Mahomes."
Until the Magic Man starts to happen.
Exactly, right? But who knows? It's not like it's not like this is the best iteration of the Chiefs we've ever seen. I would say like that 2019 team was better. The one that won that Super Bowl was better than that one. Even last year's Chiefs team, I could say, is as good as this one, even though they did get bounced out by the Bengals. But this is like the best Eagles team I've ever seen personally. And that will hold true if they win the Super Bowl. If they don't, then I have some reconsidering to do. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go with the Eagles. I'm gonna believe in this team. But I'm gonna be a big ball of nerves on that game. But just know this, guys. If they win, expect a profanity-laced pre-recorded segment from me. I'm gonna be blackout, and it's gonna be a great time.
I honestly wouldn't mind just either of you recording at any time, just some kind of reaction to something happening. Compile those and send them to me.
Fair enough. I think about the pod and the content, and that's why I'm going to go through and look at all these 49er players that have been complaining, bitching, moaning, whining about how, if Brock Purdy would have won, or they're going to get exposed. Shut the fuck up, San Francisco. There's a reason you guys are losers and not playing in this game. All right? If your offensive line was better, your quarterbacks would have been played in that game, and they could have won the game, but they didn't. Why? Because they can't block this Eagles D line that's dominant as hell, baby. Let's go! Fly, Eagles, fly. I'm good. I'm good.
All right. Well, that's all there is to do. Just to play a football game.
I tried to sit back and let that work.
Definitely.
Let Caesar cook.
That's a good close, honestly.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, boys.
I will talk to you on Super Bowl Sunday in the group chat.
Hell yeah.
We'll see how sober I remain.
Yeah, good luck. I can't imagine because I've never actually seen my stupid team in the game. So
honestly, just getting to a Super Bowl would be my Super Bowl for me. So
I'd probably have to take the whole week off after, win or lose.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna call out of work on Monday. If win or lose, I might have to call out of work on Monday.
You didn't already plan ahead, dude?
I didn't because I'm usually not working on Mondays, but this time I am for whatever godforsaken reason.
Because everyone else asked for it off.
Yeah,
probably. More than likely. All right, gentlemen, that's been a good episode. Can't wait to do this again next week, or maybe I can. We'll see.
All right, thoughts and prayers with your editing.
Thank you for listening to Pass the Rock. Join us next week and tell your friends. Please tell your friends. This is Pass the Rock.